This is Peace the Gypsy checking in from China once again, and I'm here to bring you my most uncomfortable experiences in China. Okay, so we'll start with the most recent one, which happened about 3 weeks, almost a month ago, when I flew into Shanghai and I was taking the train out to where I currently am. So basically, of course, you get stared at. You're one of the only foreigners. Shanghai tends to have a bit more of a foreigner population, but still not very much compared to how large the Chinese population is. We're talking millions and millions of people, So I would see one or two foreigners every now and then when I was in Shanghai. But when I took the train, I was the only foreigner on the train. And then I knew how to navigate already because I've already lived here for 6 months. So I got off at my stop and no, actually, let me back up. This was before I got on the train. I was buying my ticket and there was a grandma and she had a little boy, I'm guessing was her grandson. He had to be probably about maybe 4 years old, maybe 5 at the most. And one thing I hate is when the parents and grandparents try to force their children onto the foreigner, like because they learn English in their school, they learn basic English. So it's almost like they're talk to the foreigner, speak English to the foreigner, and the poor kid is just like, I don't want to, And so I just kind of wave at him friendly because I love kids, and I didn't want to make it any more uncomfortable than it already was. So I waved at him, he waved back, and I was purchasing my train ticket. So I bought my train ticket, and then they were in a line beside me. So after I bought my ticket, I waved at him again, and I could tell the grandma was trying to do like a video or a picture of me and the boy, which it is what it is. You get used to that after a while. So when I was waving at him goodbye, grandma was recording it, and I was like, well, whatever. So I go about my business. I cross the street and go all the way to the other side where you actually get on the train and stuff. And I was a bit early. I had like maybe 45 minutes before my train. So there was a KFC. So I went into the KFC and just got like some fries and like a drink. I turn around and the grandma is right behind me and she's just like waving at me. I'm like, nah, you did not follow me all the way across the street to KFC. Like, son, please calm down. So at this point it's really awkward. I'm just kind of like, So I sit down and like, keep in mind it's really, really hot. Like, and then I had on like this jumpsuit that was like, tube top jumpsuit, but it was all black, so I was like hot, okay? And they had AC in the KFC, so let me sit down, eat my food, and kind of cool down a little bit. Grandma and her grandson come and sit down at the table with me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, clearly I don't speak Chinese, you don't speak English. Like, what is the purpose of this interaction, So I'm trying to eat my fries real quick. I got a large, which I should have gotten a small, but I'm trying to eat my fries because I was like, this is awkward as hell. So now grandma takes the phone out again. She's going like this, recording me eating to her son or her grandson or whatever. And if it's one thing I don't like is when someone's recording me eating, because like, I want to eat. I want to be a savage. When I eat and I'm really enjoying my food, I just want to like go in. So I'm just kind of like slowing down because I'm like, she's recording me eating. I want to be going in, and I'm just kind of like, whatever. And then she's still trying to encourage her grandson to talk to me. Grandson's like, nah, I don't want to. I'm finally done with my fries. I get up and I'm getting ready to leave. I wave at the kid again. Bye-bye. He says bye-bye. And grandma stops, gets in my way, stops me. And she does like this, and she points at her phone, and I'm like, oh my God. She wanted to take a 5,000 video of me interacting with her grandson. Like, you got a full documentary at this point. Like, what more do you want? So at this point, I guess she wants to record me saying bye to him. So I'm like, fuck. she's recording it. I'm like, bye-bye. He's like, bye-bye. And I go about my business. I'm like, okay, on to the second most uncomfortable situation I've had. So I was on the bus. I was getting ready to go teach some of my classes. And keep in mind, during like, I guess, work times when people are getting ready to go into work and then people get ready to get off of work, the bus is super, super crowded. You've probably seen it in movies. You've probably seen it like in foreign TV shows and stuff like that, where you're literally like standing like this because people are so close to you. Like your bubble is just, there is no bubble. People are all up in your personal, you know? So I was on the bus and I was going to work one time, and it just so happened where it was a very busy time of day. So everybody was going to work and it was cramped. Like when I tell you, I was literally like holding my breath the whole time because I was just like so uncomfortable, right? So never in my life would I have expected someone to so boldly grab my ass. Now, it's one thing if someone plays it off and they're just like, oh, sorry, you know? But this dude, and he was grandpa age. He was about maybe 60 years old. And this dude, I felt my ass being grabbed. And when I say grab, I don't want you to think it's just a pat, like, oh, just a pat. It was a literal grab, okay? And so I quickly turned around because my reflex, I was about to just, you know what I'm saying? I'm not in the States, like, we don't want no problems, who? We don't want no problems, who? So I turned around, and you would think that the person would try to play it off, right? And just be like, wasn't me. This dude looked me dead in the eye and had a smirk on his face. Okay? So let's reenact this, shall we? Okay. I'm on the bus, I'm cramped, grab dude's face. I kid you not. Like, I'm literally looking like, so my mans, you're not gonna apologize, you're not gonna play it off, like you just gonna look me dead in my eye and smirk. All right, grandpa, you know what? I'm gonna let you have that one because you were bold enough about it. You had no shame, and I don't speak enough Chinese to try to communicate with you and try to figure out why, or at least, was it a good grab for you? Like, was this a good experience? Did this make your life better? Did you check something off of your bucket list? You grabbed some foreign black ass. Like, is this, can you die happily now? Like, these are the questions that I wanted to ask, but my Chinese was not up to par. So I will never know. But the smirk on his face, I think, pretty much said it all. Okay, on to the third most uncomfortable experience in China. So I was close to Hong Kong. I was in Shenzhen, and I was just doing some sightseeing, and it was my first time there. So I was wandering around as usual by myself, and actually the hotel that I was staying in, they didn't really speak a lot of English, so I was trying to communicate with them, and I had to use my translator app and whatnot. Then a Chinese guy came up beside me, and he was like, what are you trying to tell them? And I was like, you speak English? He's like, yes. And I'm like, oh, well, I want to tell them that I want to check in for one night and this and that and this and that, right? So he starts communicating to them in Chinese, and I'm like, wow, what are the odds? Like, this guy speaks enough English to where he can translate for me, you know? So he tells me his name, which, to be completely honest, at this point I've forgotten, because this was about, I want to say January-ish. So it's been a long amount of time, but we'll just call him Brian. So Brian, you know, I guess since he was doing a transaction for me or whatever, he knew which room I was staying in. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I'm like, I would much rather him communicate with them where I'm not standing here for an hour trying to figure out what's going on. So I get my room key. I say thank you to Brian. And he just so happens to say, hey, do you have Weixin, which is basically the main communication. In English it's called WeChat, so it's very similar to like WhatsApp. I compare it to a mixture of WhatsApp and Instagram, because you can still post like pictures and people see them and they can comment and like and stuff like that, but that's the main communication in China is WeChat. So I was like, yeah. So he helped me out. Like, I don't mind exchanging WeChat with him. That's cool. So I gave him my WeChat. I say, see you later. I go up to the room, and I had been traveling a lot. So the first thing I did was I took a shower. And then I came out and I looked at my phone, and Brian had messaged me and said, hey, have you had dinner? And I was like, no, I haven't, but probably just gonna go grab something. I didn't really feel like being bothered, to be honest, but it was a Friday night and it was my first time in Shenzhen, so I figured this guy knows the city, let him take me out. So I changed my mind and said, yeah, I don't mind going out. So we went to did we go to dinner first? I feel like we did. I feel like we went to dinner first. I honestly can't remember what I had, but it was in a building, yeah, and the food place, yeah, it was a bar. They had a lot of beers, so we had a couple beers and some food, and if I remember correctly, I had like, I don't remember, some sort of chicken something I had, and we were just talking or whatever, and he told me that there was like a club / lounge upstairs, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, we're already out, that sounds fun. So over dinner, I found out that he is married. So I was just kind of like, we can be friends, but I don't date married men. And he's like, yeah, we're just friends. So after the dinner, he paid for it, and we are getting ready to go up to the lounge or whatever. And he's like, so this is a good first date, yeah? And I'm like, date? You're married, so this is not a date. And he just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I really like you and I think you're beautiful. And I'm like, thanks, but you're married and this is not a date. Okay. So we go to the club, and I guess it's still early. I want to say it's maybe like 10:30 and nobody's really there, but they pretty much hook us up where we had this big fruit platter, and he got us a bucket of beers. So I'm like, damn, he thinking we about to get lit or something, okay? And so at this point, the music is playing, we can't really hear each other, so we're kind of just messaging each other on the app, and just kind of like, ha, yeah, oh yeah, this is nice, I like this place, there's a DJ, cool, whatever. And then we're drinking, and I guess we kind of became like a spectacle or something, because there were a few other foreigners that were starting to come in later, but it was just kind of like, So I didn't really plan on staying out too late, because I was going to Hong Kong in the morning and I was doing like a tour and stuff like that. So I definitely wasn't trying to get drunk, and I definitely wasn't trying to like, be out all night. I can't speak English. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. It's cool. It's been a fun night. He's like, okay. So in China, you can take the beers, once you bought the stuff, you can take it out of the plates. I was like, that's pretty cool. So we had like 2 or 3 beers that we didn't drink, so they let us take them out. And unfortunately, I started to think at this point, I think he's staying in the same hotel that I'm in. I hope he's not thinking that something's about to go down. So we get back to the hotel, we took a taxi, and he said he wanted to walk me to my floor. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So he walked me to my floor, and I'm like, have a good night, thanks. And he's like, well, can we finish these beers and just sit down and talk? I was like, no, we can't, because you've seen the size of this apartment. The room was it was actually smaller than this studio apartment. And so I was like, nah, like the only place we could sit was on the bed and talk, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I was like, no, have a good night. So keep in mind, I had drank a lot, so I'm a little bit lethargic. So I'm thinking, I told him have a good night. I turned around and go into the room. I'm thinking he's walked off, right? This dude followed me into my room, son. Into my room. I turned around and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's just like, well, I just really want to talk to him. I was like, but I told you no. And he's just like, just 5 minutes. And I'm just like, if you don't get out of my room in 2 seconds. But I think I was just more so in shock that he had the nerve to follow me into my room. Like, I was just really like, did that just happen? So, I mean, he had apologized and I was kind of like, whatever. I went to sleep and I deleted him the next day because I was just like, that was weird. Very uncomfortable. So what do you guys think? What would you think is the most uncomfortable experience? Grandma and her grandson following you around Shanghai and making a documentary about your life? Grandpa grabbing your ass on the bus? Or married man follows you into your hotel room? Please cast your vote and let me know. So those are my top 3 most awkward experiences, most uncomfortable experiences in China. I hope you guys enjoyed. I have more videos coming for you, so please stay tuned. And I will see you later. Bye.